So how did you address your burnout? So were you working with coaches at the time where you said, I'm going to make the switch? You turned off your phone and you had this realization. So what happened after that?
Yep. So for me, I need to be prepared. And it's probably a little bit of, my family's history of escaping Vietnam. Like we talk about filling these barrels in preparation for them to escape Vietnam when the communist rule took over. And so, I think in our minds, it was always very much about from my brother and I, how are you prepared? Always being 10 steps ahead. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And so when I decided to make this move, I wanted to make sure that it was one that I was prepared for. What was I going to do during this time? And so I knew I could leave and probably find another role, right? That was definitely an option, but something just didn't feel right. I was so burnt out and so exhausted that I needed a break, Linda. I just needed to take a step back and take some time off and figure out how do I recharge and what's going to make me happy and what's the kind of work I want to do. And so I met with a ton of people. I met with all my mentors. We did day-long brainstorming sessions of how I was going to spend the next phase of my career. My friend Sean took out time during his day to do that, and I greatly appreciate him for it. And so I read all the books. I read every book I could. I read, I read every article I could online of how do you plan a career break? What do you do? But really the question I was trying to answer was how do I change my brain? How do I get my mojo back? How do I feel good again? And that's where I focused my energy. And so I built a curriculum for myself, to be honest, because I said, I'm going to take 3 months off and I need a plan. And so I said, all right, I'm going to spend a month in play. And that's all about being in a flow state, having fun, being in the moment. Then I did a month of pause, which is very much about how do I kind of recenter, practice mindfulness, really just work on being present with myself and understanding, listening to that inner voice of, what do I want to be and what do I want to do? And then I felt okay, the next thing logically would be, let's spend a month of plan and figure out how I'm going to spend the next second half of my career or whatever it might be. And so I set off on this journey to try to figure out what I was going to do. So that's kind of the structure that I used.